Oh, Lord Jesus Christ, please give us just one single day without Elon Musk and Donald Trump and this hellish election. There's got to be something else happening somewhere else that we can talk about. Oh, what's that, Lord? Today there is?
Oh.
Okay, cool. Thank you, my Lord.
Yeah.
We will get to the news about Elon Musk being best friends with Vladimir Putin, but the Lord has blessed us with several international weekly weird news stories to at least distract us for but a brief moment from what is going on in these United States of America. And let's start by checking in on a country that is in many ways a sort of bizarro America.
Yeah.
Australia.
Like us, they're the product of the British Empire, but unlike us, they didn't fight a war with Britain for their independence. While Australia is very much its own country today, it's still technically a realm of the Commonwealth. And whoever's the king or queen of the UK is technically their monarch and head of state, which is very silly, very dumb, especially at this point, but it's mostly just a ceremonial thing, so who cares? Well, actually, some people do care, including an Australian senator who used King Charles's recent visit to Australia as an opportunity to publicly yell at him and tell him that he is not their king.
Okay,
yeah.
So she's yelling, "You are not our king. You are not our sovereign." And on the one hand, hell yeah.
Yeah.
On the other hand, though, we are so worn down by the state of our own country that it's hard not to associate what we just saw with the kind of shit that like Marjorie Taylor Greene does.
Sure.
So it immediately makes us wonder, oh God, is she yelling at the king for cool reasons? Or is she yelling at him because he's an Illuminati reptilian controlling the weather with 5G transgender furry litterbox vaccines?
At this point, it could be either one.
Thankfully, it's none of that. It was the New York Times. Shortly after King Charles III had finished making remarks in Australia's parliament on Monday, a voice rang out from the back of the hall. "You are not our king," shouted Lydia Thorpe, an Indigenous senator and activist for Aboriginal rights. "Give us our land back. Give us what you stole from us."
As security guards hustled Miss Thorpe out of the chamber, she continued to heckle the king, demanding that Britain enter a treaty with Australia's Indigenous population and accusing British colonizers of genocide. "Our bones, our skulls, our babies, our people," said Miss Thorpe, wearing a traditional possum skin cloak and shaking her fist at Charles as the guards backed her toward the door. "You destroyed our land." In 2022, when Miss Thorpe was swearing her oath after having been re-elected to the federal Senate, she raised her fist in a Black Power salute and referred to the then Queen as the colonizing Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. She was instructed to repeat the oath and did so in a tone of open mockery. "Okay, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I pledge allegiance to the Queen.
I also respect our tradition of getting out the giant boot and giving the king and or queen a swift kick."
Give him the boot.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, I mean, we don't know much about this lady, but so far, so good.
Yeah.
The systematic genocide of Indigenous Australians from the initial colonization all the way up through the 20th century, which included massacres and mass poisonings, seizures of land, looting of cultural artifacts, and state-sanctioned kidnapping of mixed-race children, is a very good reason to yell at the king if you ever have the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Few of us do, but if you do, I say take it.
Yeah.
And it comes at a time when, following the death of Queen Elizabeth, more and more Australians are questioning whether this Commonwealth shit is worth continuing. It was fun when she was around, but like...
Yeah. She was around for so long, we kind of just put up with it and said, you know what?
I like seeing her face on the money. I don't like his face as much. And those fingers. My God.
Ooh, those little sausage fingers.
But still, what about decorum? What about Australia's precious norms?
Oh.
Doesn't this outburst violate the senator's sworn oath of allegiance to not only the Queen, but also to the Queen's heirs? Well, here's ABC.
Independent Senator Lydia Thorpe has offered an extraordinary defense of whether she breached her parliamentary oath, claiming she pledged allegiance to Queen Elizabeth II's heirs rather than her heirs when she was sworn into Parliament. The revelation comes after Senator Thorpe interrupted a royal reception in Parliament House on Monday, shouting, "You are not our king, and this is not your land," to King Charles III. On Wednesday, the Indigenous senator was asked by the ABC's afternoon briefing if she had renounced her sworn parliamentary affirmation to bear true allegiance to the monarch in her heckling of the king. "I swore allegiance to the Queen's heirs," she replied. "If you listen close enough, it wasn't her heirs, it was her hairs that I was giving my allegiance to. And now that, they are no longer here, I don't know where that stands." And I also have my fingers crossed behind my back, and whatever else works.
It was also opposite day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all
Joke's on
checked the
you.
calendar, but it was opposite day.
Yep.
So, very cool.
Yeah.
Between this and that other Australian senator who did an entire speech in TikTok brain rot language.
To the Sigmas of Australia, I say that this goofy air government have been capping.
A lot of exciting things coming out of the Australian Parliament lately. Makes me a little bit jealous. But shifting our focus now to elsewhere in the Commonwealth of Nations, to the realm of Canada, where they've got a much more puzzling problem on their hands than what to do about the king. Mysterious white blobs keep washing ashore in Newfoundland, and nobody can tell what the hell they are.
I've got the perfect solution, and it involves dynamite. How big are these blobs?
Not big enough for that.
An M80 will do just fine.
But then you just get more blobs, and they're smaller.
Well, we'll get smaller fireworks.
Maybe a little firecracker.
Yeah, a little firecracker.
Anyway, here's the New York Times. It's the first time I've ever seen anything like it, and I've lived right here in Placentia Bay my whole life, said David McGrath, a 67-year-old retiree who stumbled across the mysterious newcomers last month. The Canadian Coast Guard was notified. Beaches on the southern shores of the North Atlantic Isle were briefly roped off. A federal agency began investigating. The blobs range in size from a coin to a dinner plate. They come in an almost pristine white before mixing with sand and turning darker. They are sticky, and they are, this is the main thing, indisputably blobby.
Yep, that's a blob. All right.
That's definitely,
Case closed.
Definitely a blob right there. Put that in the blob book.
And look, these are blobby. No one seems to know what the hell they are. I mean, it's unclear if they're the product of plants, animals, or some other life form like a slime mold. Some people say they have a smell, some don't. It's not even clear whether these blobs are of this world. But it sounds like it's all hands on deck to figure out what exactly they are. And I think the first thing they should do is blow one up. Because how else are you going to find out if this thing is alive or dead?
I mean, they're so small. You blow them up, you're like, well, where'd it go? I guess we're going to have to try it again.
But then what if it takes all of its little parts and forms back into a bigger blob?
Well, then you'll know that this is, in fact, an alien life form sent here to Earth to
We shouldn't do this
kill all
anymore.
of us. Yeah, that will be the dead giveaway.
A federal agency, Environment and Climate Change Canada, said that in the days and weeks after it was notified about the wash-ups on September 7th, it sent environmental officers and scientists to collect samples and assess the effects on the shore. The agency said it had also conducted several aerial, underwater, and manual surveys of the beaches and shorelines to try to ascertain the extent of the spread and its source. But mystery still reigns. At this time, neither the substance nor its source has been identified, the agency said this week. It did say that early tests indicated the blobs might be plant-based. Oh, vegans, get your fork and knife out.
Yummy, yummy, yum.
Dinner is on the table.
So yeah, that's pretty creepy. Mysterious blobs? No thanks. You can keep them, Canada.
I think I liked it. I beach to table. Put it right on my dinner plate. Plant-based, you say? Well, I'm getting hungry.
You take the first bite. But one Canadian man, thinks he may have cracked the case. Here's the Weather Network. Stephen Carr, a Memorial University biology professor, believes he may have cracked the case. He told the Weather Network about a phone call he received from a beach cleanup crew on the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia. He was sent a photo of a bag of Bisquick that was recently discovered. A washed-up bag of Bisquick, instant biscuit mix, was intact. The powder inside was dry as far as they could tell, said Carr. So, how would Bisquick have traveled to the shores of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland? I would guess that this is a container full of Bisquick mix that fell off a transport ship, broke up in the water, and since September has been showing up on the shoreline as blobs and is now the smoking gun, Carr postulates. To prove his theory, he's currently conducting an experiment of his own in St. John's, NL. I went down to our waterfront with several bags of the Bisquick, and I anchored them so they will be under cold seawater, and I'll check in a couple days just to see how they're faring. But if I can artificially make a blob, that will prove it, says Carr. Carr said he has also contacted General Mills.
I'm on the phone with the general.
Get me the general, not the one from the car insurance, the general of the Mills.
Yes.
So
some of your troops have washed up on my shore.
Dear General Mills.
Also, my inclination was pretty close to dead on. I mean, not the blowing stuff up, but the having it for dinner.
I mean, you could, I guess. You want a salty, uncooked pancake?
Or a biscuit.
A salty?
I love salty biscuits.
The biscuit of the sea.
Yes. This is, okay, it's actually maybe better than all those Garfield phones because those were actual pollution and all those rubber duckies that keep showing up on shores. This is, I would assume, eventually biodegradable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. It's just weird. You show up on the beach and there's all these blobs everywhere, and but that would make sense if a giant fucking container of
Bisquick.
just like a billion packages of Bisquick fell off. Yeah, you're gonna get some blobs.
Yeah, I like this theory, and I like this very ambitious home scientist.
I think this is great news for one particular set of. It's great news for dogs whose owners walk them on the beach.
Yeah,
that's probably really good for their taste buds. Not mine.
They're
theirs.
liking it. Yeah.
But moving on now to some news out of Japan, a country whose work culture is notoriously toxic, with tyrannical bosses, insane hours, mandatory overtime, mandatory after-work socializing, strict hierarchy, and expectations of the utmost loyalty and respect. Basically everything wrong with US work culture, but like taken to an extreme, with some pretty serious physical and mental health consequences. And it's so bad that even when workers decide that they can't take it anymore and they want to quit, they're terrified to actually submit their resignation and experience the wrath of their bosses. The situation has created a whole market for a brand new industry where Japanese workers are paying resignation agencies to quit their jobs for them as their proxies.
Yeah, it's like the surrogate that would...
They got surrogacy. They got so many different types of surrogacy going on over there. It's great.
Yeah. We don't need robots.
Yeah.
We're putting people to work.
Yeah, Japan, everyone thinks, oh, Japan, so it's the future, high tech. No, they know...
They've seen the future and they said, no thanks.
No thanks. This is not a job for a robot.
This is a job for a company where you can hire people to resign for you and take the brunt of that.
Yeah, if this was in America, they would have made it into just like ChatGPT quitting your job for you. And that's I don't know, I wouldn't risk it.
It would have resulted in entire companies going under because it would have been like, I guess everyone quit all at once.
Anyway, here's The Guardian.
Mary was just 2 months into her new job when she decided she'd had enough. The position at an online bank in Tokyo, found through a staffing agency, had looked like a perfect fit for the 25-year-old, a member of Japan's legions of temporary workers. But she quickly became despondent. On my first day, they gave me a thick manual to read, and when I went to my boss with questions, he said, "What the hell are you asking me for?" Mary, who asked that her real name not be used, was regularly forced to work late, and her boss's behavior became more threatening. He would ask me why I was taking so much time to finish a task, and pretended to punch me when he thought I'd made a mistake. And he'd do things like deliberately knock my pencil case on the floor. It was power harassment, pure and simple. Unable to summon the courage to tell her boss that she wanted to quit, she sought help from a company offering proxy resignations, a rapidly growing service for Japanese workers who can't bring themselves to hand in their notice in person.
So the company she turned to is called Momuri, which is Japanese for enough already. And all you got to do is fill out an online questionnaire and send them roughly $150, and they will call up your boss and quit your job for you. Most of their clientele are people in their 20s, so it sounds like Japan has its own Gen Z, nobody wants to work anymore situation.
Nobody wants to deal with abuse and overwork. Yeah.
With the added complication that quitting is a lot scarier over there.
See, here in America, we do things the cheap way. We call up our local drive time radio DJs, the zoo in the morning, and they'll call up your boss and quit for you for content.
Yeah, and they'll play like sound effects.
Auga!
Anyway, here's a CNN article from last month illustrating how hard it is to quit. Asking to leave work on time or taking some time off can be tricky enough. Even trickier is tendering a resignation, which can be seen as the ultimate form of disrespect in the world's fourth biggest economy, where workers traditionally stick with one employer for decades, if not for a lifetime. In the most extreme cases, grumpy bosses rip up resignation letters and harass employees to force them to stay. Some workers complain that bosses harass them if they try to resign, she said, including stopping by their apartments to ring their doorbell repeatedly, refusing to leave. For another quitter, what would have been a straightforward business took a bizarre turn. The person was dragged to a temple in Kyoto by their boss. The worker was told to go to Onmyoji Temple because they were cursed, Mamoru's operations manager said.
Wow.
No, you can't quit. I'm tearing up your resignation. I don't see any resignation notice. I just see a pile of scraps. Get back to your desk.
Scary stuff. But
I guess I still work here then.
Yeah, I guess.
I guess I got to go to the temple and have them exorcise the demons that are making me want to quit. I'm sorry.
Well, now that that's settled, it's going to be a very wonderful working environment for all of us. But let's move over to some news out of Germany, where some drug dealers were recently discovered to be operating in a pretty unorthodox manner that seems like it would be definitely doomed to fail. And it definitely was. Generally, when you're moving large quantities of narcotics, you're going to want some sort of front business to launder all that money through. I mean, maybe a cash business that handles a lot of transactions, like a pizza joint.
Yeah.
But in this case, the pizzeria was literally selling the drugs to customers who placed a specific order. This is a classic. Good to see Germany coming around to it.
It always works out.
Here's the AP. German police busted a pizzeria in the western city of Dusseldorf that also delivered a side order of cocaine when customers asked for item number 40 on the menu. That was one of the best-selling pizzas, criminal director Michael Graf von Moltke told reporters in Dusseldorf.
He said police were first tipped off by suspicious food inspectors in March. When drug squad officers began observing the restaurant, they soon discovered why pizza number 40 was so popular. Moltke told reporters on Monday, German news agency DPA reported. When police buzzed the apartment of the pizzeria manager, the 36-year-old allegedly threw a bag of drugs out the window, which, quote, fell right into the arms of the police officers, Dusseldorf police said. Damn it!
That was the worst thing that could have happened.
The bounty included 1.6 kilograms of cocaine, 400 grams of cannabis, and $289,000 in cash. Police said the restaurant manager, who was released from detention after a few days, soon reopened his business and started selling pizza number 40 with the cocaine side order again.
We would be way too stupid to do this again. Certainly, they would never come back looking.
No. That gave investigators an opportunity to look into the supply chain, and after several weeks, some 150 officers busted an entire drug ring in Western Germany, arrested 3 suspects, including the 22-year-old head of the drug operation, and raided the homes and businesses of another 12 suspects.
A hell of a deal, though, that number 40.
Yeah. I wonder how much it costs.
I'm sure it was outrageously expensive.
Yeah.
Like, no, it's a gag gift. It's only cost that much because it's a big joke.
They were sticking the bag under the pizza. So you open it up, it's like, yes, it's just pizza.
Wow, the perfect crime. They're putting it on that little ottoman that goes in the middle of the pizza. That's the Coke table.
This is wild because I lived in Dusseldorf for a little while.
Yeah?
Like 6 months.
Did you have any Coke pizza?
No, but I ate a lot of pizza. I was like 21, and they didn't say where this place was, but they said it was in the nightlife district, so I know exactly where that would have been.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of fucking time there. Late nights, you get hungry?
So your problem, Elliot, was that you asked for a slice and a Coke, not the number 40.
Yeah.
They were like, are you sure you want a side of Coke? And you're like, well, yeah.
I was like, yeah.
Delicious American soda.
And they put the real sugar in it there.
Yeah, they definitely did.
I like that real white sugar, if you know what I mean. Not that corn syrup.
They do things the old-fashioned way in Dusseldorf.
No. I mean, maybe I did buy cocaine and I just didn't see it under the pizza and I threw it in the trash.
Weird. I stayed up all night and went back for more pizza.
Great pizza. No, I was mostly eating doner kebab over there.
Yeah.
That's the street food of choice.
So obviously there's some pretty blatant lessons to be learned from that story for all the aspiring cocaine dealers out there.
So many points in this story where they could have probably gotten away with it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic thing. This happens at drive-thrus, pizza delivery. Like, it's from my knowledge, a pretty American thing.
Yeah.
People doing side hustles at the jobs they work at, not the businesses themselves.
It's not the businesses themselves. Yeah, it's usually like whoever's working the drive-thru.
Yeah, I'm delivering pizzas tonight, so if you call and order a pizza, I'll come bring your stuff by or whatever.
But then, throwing the drugs out the window right to the cops, and then continuing to sell drugs, not changing your business operation at all.
Yeah, not even the number of the order.
When it is obvious that the police are onto you.
Yeah. But speaking of obvious lessons, over in Poland, a funeral home recently learned an obvious lesson about making sure the coffin you're transporting is secured and is not going to fly out of the back of a hearse and dump the body in the middle of traffic. Yup, somebody did a real-life coffin flop. Life imitates art once again.
Yeah.
Here's Euronews. A funeral home in Poland issued an unusual apology on Saturday after a corpse that it was transporting fell out of a hearse and into traffic. Polish media reported that a man was driving down a street Friday in Stalowa Wola, a city in southeastern Poland, when he first saw a sheet on his car window. When the sheet slid down, he saw a body lying on the road. For a moment, the driver feared that he had hit the person. Local media published an image of the corpse lying on a white-striped pedestrian crossing where it tumbled out of the hearse. The company transporting the corpse, Hades Funeral Services, issued a statement Saturday taking responsibility for the incident and blaming a technical failure of the hearse. No, they got us on a technicality.
Yeah, it's the car's fault. This hearse, designed specifically to transport bodies, well, it did the exact opposite. Also, we are called Hades Funeral Services.
Don't ask why.
Don't ask why. We're not transporting your dead loved ones straight to hell. No? Where would you get that idea?
They're not in hell. They're in the crosswalk.
Yeah, that had to be a pretty scary moment, though. You're like, oh, God, why is there a sheet on my windshield? Oh, no, there's a lifeless body in the middle of the road. Did I do that? Did I do that? But yeah, it turns out they were already dead. You didn't do it. You are looking at a dead body, though.
I'm not on top of it right now, but there's got to be a Polish joke in here somewhere.
How many poles does it take to transport a dead human body from a funeral home to a cemetery?
More than 2, apparently.
Yeah. Seems like a lot. More than they got. Okay, so we finally run out of international news to cover, and it is, unfortunately, time to talk about this dumb country. But before we talk about Elon, here's a fun little one. Over in Washington, D.C., on a sidewalk just across from the U.S. Capitol building, a new bronze sculpture recently appeared, depicting a desk with a giant cartoonish turd sitting on it. Now, what could this mean? Well, the plaque attached to the base of the sculpture explains. This memorial honors the brave men and women who broke into the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021 to loot, urinate, and defecate throughout those hallowed halls in order to overturn an election. President Trump celebrates these heroes of January 6th as unbelievable patriots and warriors. This monument stands as a testament to their daring sacrifice and lasting legacy. Okay, yeah, so the giant bronze poop is a reference to the fact that a ton of January 6th rioters just pissed and shit everywhere like toddlers while they were storming the Capitol.
Yes, they did. And what a great monument for them. I hope they make it permanent. They probably won't.
They should.
It's going to get taken down.
I mean, listen, the Capitol, I didn't learn this until visiting it for the first time this year. That big Capitol building, it's mostly statues.
Yeah.
It's pretty much all statues. Mm-hmm. So they got room for one more, I think.
And they're always switching them out, too. They're like, the state has to come up with some new ones.
Yeah.
So
I've never seen that many fucking statues in my life.
Taking up all the space.
Including at actual museums. It's just statues, statues, statues.
It's basically just a big museum with a couple of places where they get work done that are far, far away from where any tourists can go.
Yeah. And like the rooms where they actually work are tiny and cramped and dark. And
we walked into one and it was like, this feels like I'm back in high school. It felt like a classroom or like a college classroom where it's just like all of the life is sucked out of you and you feel trapped and you're miserable.
They got all those underground rooms that are like basically like the classrooms that every college campus added after the year 2000. Very hastily, they took the lowest bid, just like no character to them at all. That's where most work at the Capitol goes down.
It is depressing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But okay, now it's Elon time, baby. Hey, not our fault.
Not my fault.
He has made himself the main character. We have no control over that. Every time he jumps up and does an X, he gains more power. He is the richest person in the world. And since that is clearly not enough to satisfy him, he's also taken a very active role in this presidential election for very obvious, self-serving reasons. His blatant partisanship is pretty unprecedented, and it's raised a lot of concerns considering he's a huge government contractor with security clearance and access to classified information. And now, highlighting those concerns is the news that he apparently talks to Russian President Vladimir Putin all the time. Sounds familiar, considering the report that came out recently that says President Trump still talks to him all the time.
He's just a cool guy. What am I supposed to do? Not hang out with cool guys?
So and this is right as the U.S. is currently funding a very expensive war against Russia in Ukraine. So here's the Wall Street Journal.
Elon Musk, the world's richest man and a linchpin of U.S. space efforts, has been in regular contact with Russian President Vladimir Putin since late 2022. The discussions, confirmed by several current and former U.S., European, and Russian officials, touch on personal topics, business, and geopolitical tensions. At one point, Putin asked the billionaire to avoid activating his Starlink satellite internet service over Taiwan as a favor to Chinese leader Xi Jinping, said two people briefed on the request. Musk has emerged this year as a crucial supporter of Donald Trump's election campaign and could find a role in a Trump administration should he win. While the U.S. and its allies have isolated Putin in recent years, Musk's dialogue could signal re-engagement with the Russian leader and reinforce Trump's expressed desire to cut a deal over major fault lines such as the war in Ukraine. At the same time, the contacts also raised potential national security concerns among some in the current administration, given Putin's role as one of America's chief adversaries.
You're talking about the guy who's in control of sending stuff to space currently, collaborating
every satellite
with fucking Russia. If this was 40 or 50 years ago, it would be career suicide for
It wouldn't just be career. He would be probably
arrested and thrown in jail. Thrown under the jail. This is absolutely absurd to think about when you think about how much he has his hands in the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So the article also highlights how much the timeline lines up between Musk's bromance with Vladimir Putin and his shift from initially supporting Ukraine in the war to just a few months later basically parroting Russian government talking points about how the conflict should be resolved. And then there's this. In October 2022, Musk said publicly that he had spoken only once to Putin. He said on X that the conversation was about space and that it occurred around April 2021. But more conversations have followed, including dialogues with other high-ranking Russian officials past 2022 and into this year. One of the officials was Sergei Kiriyenko, Putin's first deputy chief of staff, two of the officials said. What the two talked about isn't clear. Last month, the U.S. Justice Department said in an affidavit that Kiriyenko had created some 30 internet domains to spread Russian disinformation, including on Musk's X, where it was meant to erode support for Ukraine and manipulate American voters ahead of the presidential election.
So yeah, very cool. The richest man in the world, who's also one of the US government's biggest contractors and the owner of a major information platform, is donating massive amounts of money to Donald Trump in an obvious bid for influence over the US government, while also being buddy-buddy with one of the US's biggest adversaries. All while never ever shutting the fuck up about how the elites have too much control over this country. Motherfucker, you are the elites.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. Why is he allowed to do this?
Because he's rich.
Won't someone please unburden us of this treacherous man?
We've got the headlines half of the episode coming right up, but first we gotta let you know that this episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. There are some things in life that are okay if it's just a total crapshoot, like trying out a new type of milk for your coffee, or impulse buying something you saw in an Instagram ad, or rolling the dice on a new workout class. But finding the right doctor shouldn't be a total crapshoot, and with ZocDoc, it's not, because you've actually got more options than you even know.
ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skin care, and much more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, who are located nearby, who are a good fit for any medical need you may have, and who are highly rated by verified patients. You can also see their actual appointment openings, choose a time that works for you, and click to instantly book a visit.
Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. After all of our years of navigating this country's very dysfunctional healthcare and insurance system, we can say with full confidence that something like this would have saved us so much time over the years. But it's finally here. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/weeklyweird to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That is ZocDoc.com/weeklyweird. ZocDoc.com/weeklyweird. All right, now into the wildest, craziest, weirdest headlines from around the world this week, starting with
an update to one of last week's most scandalous stories.
Yeah.
King Conker cleared of cheating at World Conker Championships.
We did it, everyone! We did it! It was just a gag gift.
Yeah, so
it was just a good luck charm.
They were not able to find any evidence that the metal Conker in his pocket had been used in the game of Conkers. If you didn't watch this last week, I'm not going to explain what Conkers is again.
Sir.
But they thought he cheated. And there's also he's been competing for 50 years. He's old as shit. Suddenly he wins. Suddenly he wins handily.
I thought he was due.
But no, it turns out he did earn that. And I'm glad. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for the Conker community because this veil of it's been lifted.
Yeah.
They can conk again free of stress.
Until someone invents a Conker butt plug.
There's nothing to invent. You just stick that thing up it.
Mm-hmm. But I maintain...
It's got the string.
I maintain my defense here for this guy. You can just say that it was a good luck charm, and that maybe is what it was.
Yeah.
Something he keeps on him for good
It's
luck.
something he keeps on him because when he's playing Conker for funsies, he can use it and instantly just annihilate his opponent's Conker, and they're like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah,
it's a bar trick. Everyone's always want me to break their Conker."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good for him.
Mm-hmm. Missouri Attorney General argues abortion pill will hurt the state by lowering teen pregnancies.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to lower teen pregnancies.
That would be bad because all of our soldiers. What about all of our soldiers?
Yeah. We need extremely young women to get pregnant and then essentially spend decades to the rest of their lives in a state of economic insecurity, where they are more willing to work shitty jobs, more willing to accept terrible situations just to survive. And their children, those babies, are more willing to sign up for the U.S. military.
That's right.
And put their
We will
lives on
do
the line.
everything to make sure that those babies make it to term and then completely give up on them.
Yeah, we can't have young women aborting their fetuses and then going on to lead happy, fulfilling lives where they actually follow their dreams.
Yeah.
That is not what Missouri is all about.
Choices are a burden in Missouri.
Yeah. No
For
choice
you and the state.
Yeah, that's right. Man caught with cocaine, meth, and stolen vintage X-Men #1 comic in Georgetown.
Wow.
The man of taste, man of culture.
I just got back from Dusseldorf, and boy, are Mariano tired.
Yeah, they shut down my little pizza operation.
But I found a comic book
in the
shop.
old country. But I mean, so I'm assuming he did the drugs and then he got the bright, cocaine and meth brained idea.
First, you do the drugs.
Man, fuck! I miss comic books. I used to fucking love comic books. Oh, I wish I had some comic books.
I
now.
bet that's my copy that I used to have.
Oh, where's the nearest comic store? Fuck! It's 4:00 in the morning. They're closed. What do they got back there? Oh man, they got X-Men #1. You know what? I should just take it.
I'll be back. I'll pay.
Thing is, those I think the comic was fine because those super old ones you can't even read them. They're in that hard plastic sleeve.
Yeah.
And you probably even
He probably was just doing lines off of it.
probably wouldn't want to look at it because those old
too.
they're printed on like rag paper and the inking and everything was very low quality. It's actually in the case of these classic comics, the reprinted editions they look significantly better.
Yeah. Get the omnibus or whatever it's called.
Yes, the omnibus.
Russian oligarch found dead in Moscow after falling out of window. Oh, they need to do something about these windows in Russia.
Yeah, what is going on?
How many windows are going to kill people before they do something about it?
Falling out of window, defenestration, it seems to be a problem that only ever affects people in Russia.
All kinds of poison flying around all the time.
People in Russia with some sort of ties to the government or conflicts with the government.
Yeah.
I would never go near a window if I ever went to Russia. I'm staying on the ground floor. They got windows, but you fall out of them, you get scraped up a little bit, that's it. You're not going to die.
No.
Never going upstairs, never taking an elevator. Staying on the ground.
Never go to an upstairs location.
Never. That's your mistake. Why do these Russians keep going upstairs?
Bad move.
Dumb. Netflix closes its all-star AAA video game studio, which made 0 games.
We tried nothing and nothing worked.
God, the gaming is,
It's bleak, especially AAA.
yeah, the entertainment in general is in a bad spot, but like gaming, the amount of like studios that were acquired for lots of money or built, in Netflix's case, they like poached a bunch of people from studios like across the industry, like really top players, people you'd want working on good games. And presumably they were working on, I don't know, something for the years they were there, but now there will be nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
And and then the big publishers keep buying up all these studios, doing nothing with them, and then shutting them down.
Yeah, it's almost like exactly what happened to the MCN model.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
What happens when a gigantic media company with more money than sense starts spending all of that money, buys things they don't understand how to operate, and then expects them to put out something wonderful while doing nothing to contribute to the process?
And the fact that it's like Netflix too.
Yeah.
Like I know you can like play games on Netflix with your phone.
Crossy
and
Street or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they have. I've never tried it, but it's not like they're not like real games. They're like mobile games with a second screen. I don't know what the fuck they were trying to develop here.
Like a Stadia, some kind of Stadia thing.
But yeah, of course it was fucking doomed to fail. This is like a low interest rate idea that they had. They're like, yeah, fuck it.
Keep it going in the
Let's
background.
start a game studio.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
We're doing everything else.
Games are expensive.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop. Insane Clown Posse endorses Kamala Harris. And they will do more to push the needle than any Republican endorsement.
Yeah, Dick and Liz Cheney are changing absolutely zero minds, but...
Especially in Michigan, a swing state.
Yeah, the ICP... Now, to be clear, they're reporting this as ICP endorses Harris, but I believe so far it's only been Violent J, and Shaggy 2 Dope has kept his political views to himself. I wouldn't put it past Shaggy 2 Dope to maybe be on the Trump or at least RFK side.
We'll take what we can get.
But he's not saying anything, and Violent J is all in for Kamala, whoop whoop.
Yes.
And he has significantly more influence on disaffected voters than anyone else who has endorsed Kamala Harris. So
This is good news.
yeah.
This is a great endorsement to have.
And it's always nice to be reminded that like the ICP, they're not into like fascism and shit.
They just want to have good times.
They're pretty chill.
Yeah.
They're not into that.
Very loving community.
Yeah. They don't like being branded as a gang.
That's right.
Which I believe they still are, which is not fair. Kamala Harris should promise that if she's elected president, she'll remove that gang designation from the Juggalos.
The Juggalos have been pardoned. May the Fago flow.
Helen Mirren says, it's so sad Kurt Cobain died when he did because he never saw GPS.
And apparently this isn't the first time she's
brought him up so many times over the years, always in the context of like, Kurt Cobain died at 27 and he didn't get to see Clippy.
Yeah, like it's always some tech thing that he wouldn't have really cared about.
He died at 27, he never got to make a Facebook.
Yeah. She's literally doing the RIP you would have loved meme.
Yeah. And like the larger point she's making, I think is interesting because she's like, listen, I'm old as fuck. I'm like 80 years old. Like the world has changed like a crazy amount, especially in terms of technology in my lifetime. But yeah, the way she has framed it numerous times by saying, Kurt Cobain, he never got to use GPS. He would have loved it. R.I.P. Kurt Cobain, you would have loved GPS.
Yeah. I mean, it is a pretty crazy technological leap.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah. She's like, I love seeing that little blue dot go down the street.
I mean, listen.
Kurt Cobain would have loved being in a new city on tour and having no idea what to eat around the arena and being able to quickly go on his phone and find any number of delicious pizza spots that might also have a side business.
Yeah. I mean, like, my grandma was born in, like, fucking, like, 1926 and lived long enough to, like, have fucking Instagram. It is pretty crazy to, like, think about. But Kurt Cobain, you would have loved it.
We're just going to be...
Kurt Cobain, you would have loved Animoji.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What are you looking forward to in the future, Elliot?
Nothing.
Sitting in the back of your Cybertruck with your VR glasses on, looking at a prettier future?
I want everything to just stop. Just stop it.
That's what I feel like. I feel like, I don't want to put words in his mouth or in his brain, but I feel like Kurt Cobain would reject all modernity.
Yeah, I don't think he would have really been into that. He would have been like one of those guys like what's the actor? Michael Shannon, who like doesn't even have a fucking cell phone.
Yeah. He would have moved out to the middle of fucking nowhere in Washington.
Yeah. Well, that's where he was from originally. He probably would have gone back.
Yeah. So I don't know, Helen Mirren.
I don't think he would have loved GPS. I think you might be wrong about that.
I think he might have hated it, actually. Well, she didn't say that he would have loved it. She said he never saw it, and that's disappointing.
He could have written some good songs about how much he hated GPS.
Anyways, anti-trafficking activist Tim Ballard hit with human trafficking allegations in federal lawsuit.
What? So this is
the Sound of Freedom guy.
I mean, I've lost all track of all sense of time at this point. So I was like, wait, when did Sound of Freedom come out? 2023. It came out a year ago.
Wow.
And that was that movie. Every year there's at least one where the Christians just like start buying all the tickets to it and not going to the theater.
Yeah. Look how good it did at the box office.
Giving them away at like the church.
The donation.
Yeah. So it was like the #1 movie in the country, but it was a movie about how real life Tim Ballard had like personally rescued a bunch of like human trafficking victims from like the cartels and shit. And I think it was like a month after the movie came out, there was like, okay, so yeah, it turns out he himself actually doing a lot of human trafficking. It was just
research, actually, so...
It is so like...
That was the one where they said that it smelled like, the theater smelled bad because they were, the Satan was lurking in there and keeping people away, so that's why there wasn't anyone in there.
Satan has a smell.
Yeah.
It smells like sulfur.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. They were like, nobody's in there because it's being...
Someone farted.
Yeah.
One of y'all farted, and... That's such a good excuse, though. If you fart and someone's like, Jesus, what is that? And like, oh my God, it's Satan.
Yeah.
He's in here with us right now.
You smell that? That's Satan.
But yeah, you'll probably hear nothing about this from all the people who were hyping the shit out of this movie a year ago.
Turning Point USA isn't going to talk about it at their big event?
Oh God. Oregon police draw backlash for hide and seek with a cop event. Run without consequences. So the police departments in this country, because of their horrible relationship with the community, they occasionally do these like blank with a cop events, where it's
humanizing
like, the like come on down and hang out with
coffee
our
with a cop. Yeah,
they're not going to kill you. They will be carrying the gun because that's their personal security, emotional support gun. But this one is the fact that it's a Halloween event and the flyer for it looks like it's like advertising a scary experience, like a maze or something. It's like, oh, like come down and get chased around by Freddy and Jason. No, it's just like play hide and seek with a cop.
Yeah. Run without consequences.
The scariest thing.
And then it's a winking cop.
But all these people are, well, first of all, people are like, are they going to be wearing guns? And they're like, yes, of course.
Well, obviously they'll have their revolvers.
So all these people are just like, no, I don't want to do that. I feel like, and people, I agree with this. I feel like the muscle memory might kick in on these cops.
That's the scariest part.
Because we've already seen so many examples of cops like shooting someone dead, not even on purpose, just because their natural reaction is to reach for the gun. We saw, my favorite example of this, it was a baseball game where a cop got hit by a home run or a foul ball or something and reached for his gun immediately.
Insane.
Just by instinct.
Insane.
A baseball hit me. I'm going to need my gun.
Yeah.
I need to shoot this baseball. So better luck with that next time, I guess.
Man complaining of indigestion had live cockroach in his intestines. I don't like that.
Nope.
Was his name Asmongold? He cleaned his room.
He found a receipt from like 2004 or something, and he's like,
this
is what groceries used to cost.
Yeah, people were like, that's how nasty you are. You found a fucking perfectly preserved receipt under all that trash that you haven't cleaned for at least 15 years.
Disgusting man. But, he may have cockroaches living in him. I don't know how this happens. Which way does it go in?
He had to have like accidentally like swallowed something with like cockroach eggs in it or something, right?
I don't know.
Or just slept with his mouth open and just crawled all the way down. I don't know how it would work.
I feel like you would notice.
You would feel like your stomach acid would make quick work of it.
Maybe it's something sexual.
It went up his butt.
Yeah, could be.
Like that gerbil.
Yeah, well, you got to work your way up to the gerbil.
Yeah.
You got to start small.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's our headlines and that's our show. Before we close out, I will be joining. We were recently on a episode of the Western Kabuki podcast. And thank you to everyone who listened to it or watched it.
We'll link it again down below. You can
they're having a live stream on Sunday all day. They're raising money for Palestine. It's going to be at twitch.tv/Western Kabuki from like noon to 8 p.m. Pacific. And I will be popping in around 2:30 Pacific Standard Time. I know you'll be...
I'll be doing the exact opposite. I'll be in Florida, visiting my family who luckily were pretty much unscathed from the hurricane, but the soonest I could get in.
You'll be doing hurricane relief on a very small scale.
Yeah, the roof of the local airport was torn off in parts, so now it's the soonest I could get back. So having said that, I think videos will be like one day late next week because I'll be out of town, but that's it,
But I'll be on the Western Kabuki stream. Stop by, help raise money for Palestine. I think they got a lot of guests coming in, so it sounds like a lot of fun.
I'll pop into the chat. What's up, chat?
Yeah. Chat, is this Riz?
Anyways, please smash that like button. Don't just lovingly tap it. Smash it.
Smack it.
Leave a comment. Talk about anything we discussed today or whatever you want. Make sure you like the video, though, and subscribe if you're not already. We have 2 other videos popping up right here for you in case you missed. Elon Musk doesn't look like, even after the video aired, I don't think he still announced another winner. I think that might be... at least temporarily on hold. So
it's all Elon and Trump news. I'm so sick of everything, but that's the world.
Yeah.
Not my world. Well, it is my world.
We'll
I
see
didn't
you
choose
soon.
the world. Bye-bye.
Go Dodgers.